My 9-year-old granddaughter Emma climbed onto my lap last Tuesday afternoon, her face serious in that way children get when they're carrying a secret too heavy for them. She twisted a strand of her brown hair around her finger and whispered, "Nana, I need to tell you something about Grandpa." Her voice dropped even lower. "He has a special friend named Carol. I heard him say they're moving to Arizona together and you're not invited." I felt my heart skip, but I smiled and kissed the top of her head. "Sweetheart, you must have misunderstood. Grandpa and I have been married for 38 years. We don't have secrets." She shook her head firmly. "I didn't misunderstand, Nana. I heard him on the phone in the garage. He said Carol and our new life. And she doesn't suspect anything. Then he said something about the house in Scottsdale and the retirement money. I am not a woman who ignores warning signs. For 32 years, I taught high school English in Philadelphia, and I learned to recognize when someone was lying to me. The small tells, the shift in eye contact, the overly detailed explanations. But I never thought I would need to use those skills on my own husband. That night, I watched Richard during dinner. He seemed normal, relaxed. He talked about his golf game, about needing to fix the fence in the backyard, about our daughter Claire's promotion at work. He asked me how my book club went. He kissed me goodnight the same way he had kissed me goodnight for 38 years. But Emma's words echoed in my head. She doesn't suspect anything. The next morning, after Richard left for his usual Wednesday golf game, I did something I had never done in nearly 4 decades of marriage. I went into his home office and started looking through his desk. My hands were shaking. I felt like a stranger in my own house, like I was violating some sacred trust. In the bottom drawer, under a stack of old golf magazines, I found a manila folder. Inside were bank statements for an account I had never seen before, an account in Richard's name only, an account that showed regular withdrawals over the past 18 months, totaling more than $200,000. I sat down in his leather chair, the same chair we had bought together when he retired from his accounting firm 3 years ago, and I felt the room spin. $200,000. That was most of our retirement savings. The money we had carefully invested. The money from the sale of his father's house, the money I had contributed from my pension. There were also printed emails. Dozens of them. Most were from someone named Carol Whitmore. The tone was intimate, discussing plans, talking about their future together. One email mentioned a property address in Scottsdale, Arizona. Another discussed selling the Philadelphia house once everything was finalized. My Philadelphia house. The home where I had raised my daughter. Where I had celebrated Christmases and birthdays, where I had built a life. I took pictures of everything with my phone, every bank statement, every email, every document. I was calm now, methodical. The teacher in me knew that evidence mattered. Documentation mattered. Then I called my daughter. "Mom, what's wrong? You sound strange." "Claire, I need you to come over. Don't tell your father. Bring Emma with you." She arrived 20 minutes later, her face worried. Emma held her mother's hand tightly. I took them both to the kitchen table and showed them the photos on my phone. Claire's face went white. "Mom, oh my God, are you sure?" "I'm sure." I turned to Emma, crouching down to her level. "Sweetheart, I need you to tell me exactly what you heard Grandpa say. Can you do that?" Emma nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "I'm sorry, Nana. I didn't want to tell. I didn't want to make you sad. You did the right thing, baby. You absolutely did the right thing. Now tell me everything." Emma took a deep breath. "Last week, when I stayed over, I woke up because I heard Grandpa talking on the phone in the garage. I was going to get water and I heard his voice. He said, 'Carol, we'll be together soon. Just a few more months and the Pennsylvania house will be sold. She has no idea. I've been moving the money carefully. We'll have everything we need for our new life in Scottsdale.' Then he laughed and said, 38 years is a long time to be with the wrong person." The wrong person. I held Emma close, feeling her small body shake with quiet sobs. "You are so brave," I whispered. "You saved me, sweetheart. Do you understand that? You saved Nana." After Claire and Emma left, I sat alone in my kitchen and let myself cry. Not delicate tears. Deep, wrenching sobs that came from somewhere I had kept locked away for 38 years. I cried for the girl I was at 24 when I married Richard. I cried for every anniversary dinner, every vacation, every moment I had believed we were partners. I cried because I was 62 years old and my husband was planning to leave me with nothing. Then I stopped crying. I washed my face. I made myself a cup of tea, and I started planning. The next morning, I called a divorce attorney. Her name was Margaret Stillwell, and she had been recommended by my friend Barbara, who had gone through her own brutal divorce 5 years earlier. Margaret was in her 50s, with sharp eyes and an even sharper suit. She listened to my story without interrupting, occasionally taking notes. "Do you have documentation?" she asked when I finished. I handed her my phone. Pictures of everything. Bank statements, emails, property information. She smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a chess player who had just seen the winning move. "Mrs. Patterson, your husband made several critical mistakes. First, he used marital funds without your knowledge or consent. Second, he documented his intentions in writing. Third, Pennsylvania is an equitable distribution state, which means I can argue that you are entitled to significant compensation for this financial betrayal. I want everything documented legally before I confront him," I said. "I want to be protected." "Smart woman." Margaret leaned forward. "Here's what we're going to do. You're going to continue acting normal. Don't let him know you suspect anything. In the meantime, I'm going to file a motion to freeze all joint accounts and prevent the sale of the marital home. We'll also subpoena his financial records, including that secret account. When we have everything in place, you can confront him. By then, it will be too late for him to hide anything else." Over the next 2 weeks, I lived a double life. During the day, I was the dutiful wife. I made Richard breakfast. I asked about his golf games. I kissed him goodbye when he left the house. I slept next to him at night, feeling his warmth, and wondered how someone could lie so completely. But in my secret hours, I was someone else. I met with Margaret. I signed paperwork. I gave depositions. I gathered every financial record I could find. I discovered that Richard had been planning this for more than 2 years. He had started siphoning money from our accounts 18 months ago. Small amounts at first, then larger transfers. He had opened credit cards in his name only. He had even taken out a line of credit against our house without my knowledge. The property in Scottsdale was real. A 3-bedroom condo in an upscale retirement community. He had put down $80,000, money that had come from the sale of his father's house, money that legally belonged to both of us. I also learned about Carol Whitmore. She was 53, 9 years younger than me. She had been Richard's dental hygienist. They had met 3 years ago when Richard went in for a cleaning. According to the emails I found, she was divorced, had 2 adult sons, and believed that Richard was finally ready to leave his cold, distant wife and start the life he deserves. Cold? Distant? I had given this man 38 years. I had supported his career, raised his child, taken care of his elderly parents in their final years. I had been faithful and present and committed, and he had described me as cold and distant to his mistress. On a rainy Thursday in late October, Margaret called me. "Everything is in place," she said. "The accounts are frozen. The house sale is blocked. I've scheduled a mediation session for next Tuesday. He'll be served with papers tomorrow morning." "Can I tell him myself?" I asked. "Before he gets the papers?" "That's your choice. But I'd recommend having a witness present." I chose to tell him over dinner. I made his favorite meal, pot roast with roasted vegetables, the same meal I had made for our first anniversary, our 10th, our 25th. I set the table with our good china. I poured wine. I even lit candles. Richard came home at 6, kissing my cheek absently. "Smells great," he said. "What's the occasion?" "We need to talk," I said simply. He sat down, and I watched his face carefully. There was no suspicion there, no guilt, just mild curiosity. "I know about Carol," I said. The color drained from his face, his mouth opened, closed, opened again. What?" "I know about the account, the money, the condo in Scottsdale. I know you've been planning to leave me and take our retirement funds with you." I kept my voice steady, almost conversational. "I know you told Carol that I was cold and distant. I know you said 38 years was a long time to be with the wrong person." "Margaret, I can explain." "It's too late for explanations, Richard. I've already filed for divorce. The accounts are frozen. You can't sell the house. You can't transfer any more money. It's over." He stood up so fast his chair toppled backward. "You had no right. That money was ours," I interrupted. "That money was ours. This house is ours. Everything you tried to steal was ours." I stood up too, feeling decades of anger coursing through me. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Did you think you could just erase me from your life and I would disappear quietly?" "I was going to tell you eventually," he said, and his voice was pleading now. "I was going to make sure you were taken care of." "Taken care of?" I laughed, and it was a bitter sound. "Richard, you were going to leave me homeless and broke. I saw the plans. You were going to sell this house and take the proceeds to Arizona. You moved $200,000 of our retirement savings into an account I knew nothing about. That's not taking care of me. That's theft. It's more complicated than that." "No," I said. "It's actually very simple. You betrayed me. You lied to me. You planned to abandon me after 38 years of marriage, and now you're going to face the consequences." He tried apologizing. He tried explaining. He called Carol right there in front of me, breaking up with her through tears, as if that would somehow fix everything. He begged me to go to counseling, to give him another chance, to remember all the good years we had. But I was done. I had remembered the good years during those 2 weeks of investigation, and I had realized something important. I couldn't remember the last time Richard had looked at me with genuine affection. I couldn't remember the last time we had laughed together, really laughed. I couldn't remember the last time I had felt like a partner rather than a convenience. The good years had ended a long time ago. I had just been too loyal to notice. The legal battle took 8 months. Richard fought hard, claiming that the money in the secret account was his inheritance, that he had every right to plan for his own future, that I was being vindictive and cruel. His lawyer painted me as a bitter woman trying to punish her husband for wanting happiness. But Margaret was brilliant. She documented every lie, every hidden account, every secret plan. She showed that Richard had used marital funds, that he had forged my signature on several documents, that he had attempted to defraud me out of my share of our assets. She brought in a financial forensic expert who traced every dollar Richard had moved over the past 3 years. The judge was not sympathetic to Richard's case. In the final settlement, I received the house, 70% of our retirement accounts, and half of Richard's pension. I also received compensation for the money he had spent on the Scottsdale condo, which had to be sold to repay me. Richard was ordered to pay my legal fees, which totaled nearly $40,000. He was left with enough to live on, but not enough to fund the retirement fantasy he had planned with Carol. She left him before the divorce was even finalized, apparently unwilling to sign up for a life of reduced circumstances. Last month, I sold the house in Philadelphia. It was too big for me alone, and every room held memories I no longer wanted. I bought a small townhouse near Claire and her family. Emma has her own room here, decorated in purple, her favorite color. She stays with me every other weekend. I'm learning to live alone. It's strange. After 38 years of sharing a home with someone, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and reach for Richard before I remember. But mostly, I feel lighter. Free. I joined a book club that actually discusses books, not just drinks, wine, and gossips. I started taking art classes at the community center. I'm learning to paint, something I always wanted to do but never had time for when I was teaching and running a household and being a wife. Claire worries about me. She calls every day, asking if I'm lonely, if I'm sad, if I need anything. I tell her I'm fine, and I mean it. I am fine. Better than fine. Emma asked me last week if I was mad at her for telling me about Grandpa. We were in my small garden, planting tulip bulbs for next spring. "Sweetheart," I said, holding her small dirt-covered hands in mine, "you saved me. Do you understand that? You saw something wrong, something that would have hurt me terribly, and you were brave enough to tell me. That takes courage. That takes love. I could never be mad at you for that. But Grandpa is sad now," she said. "He lives in a small apartment and he doesn't play golf anymore." "Your grandfather made choices," I said gently. "He chose to lie. He chose to take money that wasn't just his. He chose to break promises he made to me. Those were his choices, Emma, not yours." "Not mine," His. And sometimes, when we make bad choices, we face consequences. That's not punishment. That's just how life works. She nodded, her face serious. Mrs. Chen at school says the truth sets you free. Mrs. Chen is a wise woman. I'm 63 now. I never imagined I would be divorced at this age, starting over, rebuilding a life I thought was already built. But there's something powerful about survival, about discovering that you are stronger than you believed, about realizing that you don't need someone else to make you whole. Richard sent me a letter last month. It was 6 pages long, handwritten, full of apologies and regrets and explanations. He said he had made a terrible mistake. He said he had been going through some kind of midlife crisis, even though he was 66 and hardly midlife. He said he loved me, had always loved me, and wanted to know if there was any chance I would consider reconciliation. I burned the letter in my fireplace. I watched the pages curl and blacken and turn to ash. And then I made myself a cup of tea and sat in my favorite chair and read a book. People ask me if I'm angry, if I hate Richard. The truth is, I don't. Hate takes energy, and I don't want to spend any more of my life's energy on him. He made his choices. I made mine. We're both living with the consequences. What I learned from this experience is something I wish I had known 38 years ago. Your intuition is real. When something feels wrong, it probably is. When someone's behavior doesn't match their words, believe the behavior. And most importantly, trust the people who love you enough to tell you difficult truths. Emma saved me. A 9-year-old child had the courage to break a terrible secret because she loved me more than she feared, making her grandfather angry. That kind of love, that pure and honest and protective love, is worth more than 38 years of comfortable lies. I keep a photo of Emma and me on my mantle. We're in my garden, both of us laughing, dirt smudged on our noses, tulip bulbs scattered around us. She has her arms around my neck, and I'm holding her tight. That's the truth. That's what matters. That's what saves us. Not the houses we live in or the retirement accounts we accumulate or the marriages we maintain. It's the people who love us enough to tell us the truth, even when the truth is hard. It's the courage to listen. It's the strength to act. I'm 63 years old. I've been divorced for 6 months. My ex-husband lives in a 1-bedroom apartment and works part-time at a hardware store because he needs the income. I live in a townhouse I bought with my own money, surrounded by books I want to read and canvases I'm learning to paint, and a granddaughter who visits every other weekend. Some people might look at my life and see loss. A marriage ended, a future disrupted, plans destroyed. But I look at my life and see freedom, see truth, see second chances. And I see a little girl who whispered a secret that changed everything, and I am grateful, every single day, that she was brave enough to speak.